وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله داع أيها المبعوث فينا جئت بالأمر المطاع جئت شرفت المدينة مرحبا يا خير داع.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. You're listening to the Y Factor on 87.6 FM. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Jamil, what's up with the voices?
Well,
Every time.
I thought I'd put a bit of variety into the show.
We have variety. We do have variety. The fact that me and you are here together is enough variety.
And because we were catering to the female audience by having sisters on as well? Or?
Yeah, I thought you meant, okay. I thought you meant something else.
No other intention?
No, the intention, we are completely 100% halal.
Inshallah. Anyway.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome to another wonderful episode of The Y Factor on this beautiful Thursday afternoon, the 16th of May 2013. Oh, wow, we're in May already.
The year is certainly flying past, and Ramadan's coming up in only a month and a bit.
A month and a bit. It's June and July, isn't it?
July.
Completely July?
As far as I know, it's in on July the 9th.
So, okay, that's
obviously that's going to be debated once, the moon sighting comes along versus, say, the date calendar sighting.
Let's not go there, shall we? Let's avoid the debates. The debating. Yeah. Oh, speaking about debates.
Yes.
We are going to be talking about a certain debate that's going to be happening this Saturday.
It's going to be cutthroat. People will die over this debate about public schooling versus Islamic schools.
Yeah, I mean... Which
is better?
And we have two fantastic speakers from both sides. We have Bassam and Mohsen, who will be in the studio later on, and they will be speaking to us about. They will be basically giving us a preview of the debate, as well as providing insight into the very issues themselves.
Two very strong speakers. Stay tuned for that.
Excellent speakers
and entertaining as well.
And entertaining. They were funny. It's heated. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be great ideas clashing in the studio. It's awesome. I love it. We love great ideas clashing in the studio, don't we?
Naturally, as a Lebanese individual, you love conflict and violence and clashing.
Let's not be racist, but yes. I mean, look. I tell you something. I tell you a story. When
isn't that what Alan Jones has said as well? Like that we're very violent people. So,
yes, Alan Jones.
Obviously, the news also portrays that. Typically, Today Tonight. How violent we are and such. So, it's because you can't help it.
Okay, you can't help it. On that point. I just want to say that basically when I studied journalism, right? So I did it at university. When we were doing it at university, of course, when these kind of things come up, the different media sources are going to come up. So my teacher would say, usually, don't watch this. It is garbage. And no, watch this. It's reputable and honest. So most of the time, something like the BBC, usually reputable, honest. Not necessarily all the time. No media agency is good all the time. But the BBC is generally pretty good. You can generally trust them.
And Al Jazeera English.
Al Jazeera English. Things like that. Again, we're not saying all the time. Most of the time,
whereas stations such as Fox News or Today Tonight,
Fox News in America, definitely the like many of the tabloid newspapers in the UK and specifically over here
and in America,
you could say the Daily Telegraph, Channel 7, Channel 9, and Channel 10 News. Not universally. Sometimes, for example, Channel 10 News, especially with the project, is pretty good.
Sometimes they have some pretty good stories.
Sometimes Channel 9 does provide some good insight. I hate Channel 7. I hate everything about Channel 7 from top to bottom. And specifically, when I was studying media, they said specifically, do not watch two shows. Do not watch two shows.
Being Today Tonight and 60 Minutes?
Or close, Today Tonight and Current Affairs. Never, ever watch them. Now, she also said to me, I remember my teacher was a great teacher, and she said to me, look, Current Affairs at one point was a good program. It did actually do investigative journalism. When they would actually deal with a current affairs. But she said around the 90s time, it spiraled downhill.
Became just it
became tabloid garbage. Just inflammatory garbage. And I would advise all my listeners at all times to just not watch it, not take into account. Don't give it your time of day. Don't give it your effort. Don't give it your energy. Don't watch it online. Don't watch it on TV. Don't even think about it. Because there's no point in promoting terrible journalism.
But the only problem though with that is that then we won't be aware once terrible journalism, especially about the Muslim community, is then aired.
But, however, the thing is, media, at the end of the day, is a business. If no one is watching, then they're going to change. They have to change, right? Let's look at the Sydney Morning Herald as a perfect example. They had their big fold-out style newspaper. Unfortunately, no one was buying it, so they changed. They changed according to what people will buy and what people will not buy, what people will watch and what people will not watch. If nobody tunes into so-and-so program, nobody agrees to go on so-and-so program, nobody agrees to discuss so-and-so program, well, eventually they'll need to change their ways. Ideally, true, it is idealistic, but, you know, I'd prefer to take the idealistic route when it comes to these programs than to give in to their fear-mongering.
I think the most, a more powerful alternative, potentially, and this is not to knock your opinion, but
we have disagreed many times before, remember?
Yeah, I guess so. But I think that the most more powerful alternative or response to things like Today Tonight programs that are, or current affair programs that are just terribly demonizing Muslims or characterizing us as aggressive, violent people.
Yeah,
you know. At least on the whole, as majority, I mean, yeah, I'm sure we all have that cousin who's got a bit more too much testosterone going around.
What's your point?
The point is that we should start maybe writing to, you know, as like some other minority communities do. They write to these stations, they lobby, they, you know, debate against these despicable sort of journalism, this rubbish journalism that gets put out there.
Yep.
They work towards encouraging their kids to become journalists and get in there and change up and influence.
Yeah,
and
true.
even if it's not to be journalists, but to somehow get a job in those stations or become friends with journalists and such, so that they can see that, you know, all this propaganda that's being put through is actually just rubbish.
I think we're getting there, but I think the focus should be more on complete cut-off.
It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. We are a minority here in Australia. If you have, say...
But if we don't partake in their programs, not just not watch, not partake in their program at all, that can make a difference. They're going to have no one to talk to.
What are they going to... They're on... Okay. You mean like, say, don't have dialogue with... You're never going to be able to do that. You're never going to be able to control...
I disagree.
...the Muslim community, because there's always going to be people in our community
I'm not saying
who
control.
love to talk.
I'm giving
such as
advice. I believe that we shouldn't at all partake in their... No matter how they approach. Unfortunately, from their negative reputation, we can't... I would say that no Muslim should work with them.
You can say that, but that's not a solution to the problem. That's more like abstinence from
I don't care.
I'm just saying, like,
look. Your point is fair, and I think we can agree to kind of half disagree, half agree.
But you can agree that I'm correct.
No, we're gonna agree to disagree.
That you're wrong.
Do you want to take it outside, Jamil? Do you want to take it outside? All right, hang on, guys. No, I'm kidding. No, look, it is an interesting discussion. I actually would like to hear other people's opinions on it. So, guys, let us know on the page. What would you feel is the solution to, not necessarily, you know, what's being portrayed, but specifically garbage journalism? Yep. What is a solution to media portrayals? Okay, and again, remember, guys, make sure you keep your adab and make sure you keep your manners when discussing this thing.
So head over to the Facebook and type Facebook group and search for the Y Factor,
and you should be able to find us. Another thing that I recently read on Sydney Morning Herald was a really interesting article about Gen Y and travel. Mm-hmm. Did you read it, Jamal?
Yes.
It was an interesting article. Basically,
or at least I skimmed it anyway. But yeah,
basically, to use quotation marks, an oldie. An oldie was writing about
how old's an oldie?
That's actually a good point.
Are we talking about like 30 plus?
Someone who looks down upon Gen Y.
Right.
So you could say 30.
You know, soon enough, you and I will be.
No, we'll be over the hill. We'll be over the hill. Eventually, we'll be saying those Gen Zs.
Yeah. I can't believe them.
Yeah, rocking back in our chairs.
Their book faces and their Y Factorians.
Those new technologies. Their Samsung Galaxy S12s. Anyways, point is, so this lady or guy, I don't know who the writer was actually, wrote about how Gen Y has ruined travel by basically demanding more and you know, making everything out to be a resort and to be kind of all about hotels and not necessarily about being out in the adventurous open, you know? It's all about enclosed, you know, Enclosed travel. Let's call it enclosed travel.
I definitely say that there's a big generation difference between, say, our generation and our parents' generation, where our parents didn't have the technology that we have today. They didn't have a lot of the developments that we have today. You know, even there's a famous photo, how big of an impact smartphones have had on us.
Yeah.
There's a photo in 2005 of when the Pope was elected.
Yep.
And it was just a crowd of people in the backs of people.
Yep.
And they were watching on as he was elected.
Yep.
In 2013, when there was the new Pope elected.
Yep.
You had another photo, same shot and everything like that. A big crowd
Same
of people,
position,
but everyone had a smartphone.
Had their phones out, taking a picture?
Exactly. So it's like it's just kind of highlighting.
But how do you think that?
How quickly society is changing, because smartphones have obviously
How do you
had
think
a big
that has
cultural
affected
impact.
Like travel?
I think, you know, we've become a lot more demanding as things become a lot easier to access. You know, we fast food is becoming more prevalent. Things on demand are becoming more prevalent. We're not going out to the DVD store anymore. We want things downloaded, and it needs to be downloaded quick, like lightning fast.
Yeah.
You know, we're becoming sort of like a very horty-torty kind of...
Horty-torty?
Horty-torty, you know, everything has to be our way, almost. And based on the article, it sounded like he was calling us princesses, but...
Pretty much.
I don't
Look,
think
I'm going to have to say I disagree. I think it's generalization to say Gen Y is, you know, all princesses and horty-torty and always asking for demanding everything. Look, personally, I mean, I would love to backpack around the world. You know, and I'm sure, and Jamal, you've told me as well, you would as well.
Yeah, I did while I was on the honeymoon. I mean, we didn't backpack because it was a honeymoon, but we went like whitewater rafting and mountain climbing and things like that.
Yeah.
You know, definitely. But I guess what we're talking about is this generational difference. You know, the older generation don't feel the need to be on their Facebook 24/7 like we do, and they're not as...
I guess so. I mean, I guess
they grew up like playing outdoors and in the fresh air, whereas we are all about, you know, playing on video games and online activities and all that sort of stuff. Like there's just, we can't say that there isn't a generational change that's been affected by technology, and it'll definitely have an impact on, you know, because of how privileged we are. You can't say there hasn't been an impact on our level of tolerance for things not going our way.
So you're saying that basically because Gen Y has been so exposed to different technologies and advanced technologies and pampered, you think that that's impacted everything, not just travel, everything. So, for example, one of the things that the writer brought up was the idea that back in her days, or his days, I need to work out who the writer was.
Maybe it was half-half.
Half-half.
It was a transvestite.
Back in the writer's days, to dodge the question, back in the writer's days, they would, as she said, they would, you know, clean the dishes together with a smile on their face. They'd work together and cook together with a smile on their face, and blah, 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 with a smile on their face. Yeah. So she's basically saying that, you know, they used to work. They used to do some work. Whereas Gen Y, they'll say, no, I didn't pay to go on a trip to wash. Mm-hmm. You know, and the writer also pointed out the fact that there are so little amount of camping package trips offered. Mm-hmm. Instead, it's all about hotels and motels, and, you know, going from hotel to hotel, big city to big city. You know, there's no real adventure anymore to travel, which personally I think is true. I think it is true. I think that, and although, to be honest, I haven't
traveled... It's becoming more about short thrills, you're saying?
I think, no, it's more about just kind of similar comfort to where your comfort at home, but just a little bit different. You know, just with that added little travel aspect. You're not actually experiencing the culture of a place. So, for example, let's look at hypothetical. Let's say you travel to France. Mm-hmm. Yep. And you could do two things. You could either go from hotel to hotel in each of the major cities, as you would with any nation, and, you know, travel on the best trains and the best, you know, planes, and sit at the best hotels and eat at the best restaurants that serve international food, so you're pretty sure what you're going to be getting, and everyone speaks English, and so on and so forth. Now, you tell me, Jamal, is that really the French experience? Well, let's apply it universally. Is that really the experience you want to take from a place that you visit?
Well, that doesn't mean you need to backpack in the French Alps.
I'm not saying, go hard out, man versus
Bear
wild.
Grylls, yeah.
Drink the OP.
My hero.
I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is that live a little, go out a little, backpack across, somewhere easy like Europe. I'm sure that backpacking across Europe is not as difficult as other places.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with the author though. So I think in her time, people were probably
a debating episode.
People were probably going to hotels or pretty much as we were. Maybe they were backpacking a bit more. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. Like I'm just saying that there is an impact due to technology on our lifestyle and on how we live, like such as communication. People don't spend as much face time together anymore because they just do it online.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's got its advantages. Obviously, like we get to keep in touch with a lot more friends now through things like Facebook and that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think there may also be, reductions in. It's changes all across the board. But maybe there's reductions in intelligence. Who knows? Because people aren't. They're spending more time on, say, our electronic devices and technology than they are in learning something or teaching themselves a life skill. Like Kurashwani, do you know how to change the oil on your car?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how to change a tire?
Yes.
Do you know how to
change the battery? Yes. You know why I learned that? Because my car always breaks down.
Okay, so there are exceptions to the rule. But I'm saying, my dad's generation, man, they learned how to build houses. They learned how to build a car from scratch. They learn all these really life skills where if technology just vanished in a flash, they'd be able to survive. Whereas today,
So do you think you won't be able to survive without your mobile phone?
Personally, I think I would, but I think there's a lot of people who would go crazy if their phone was turned off.
I mean, why can't you go backpacking with a mobile phone in tow?
Well, I personally, I just turn it off because you want to.
But you want to Instagram the beautiful vistas.
I guess so, but life is so fleeting that you're wasting time if you're spending more time taking photos than actually admiring what you're taking photos of.
Philosophical. It's a powerful point.
I'm very deep.
Very, very deep. But no, I don't think there's anything wrong with taking photos. Just nothing in excess. Just don't overdo it. Yes. You always, as you said, with the Pope thing, everyone had their phones out. No one was actually just sitting there looking and watching.
It's more about capturing
event unfolding.
Same thing on Hajj, man. People are taking photos instead of actually doing ibadah. And I'm guilty of taking a couple photos myself, but but this is something so profound. Life itself is so profound.
Yeah.
Go out and actually look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. I was speaking to a friend of mine today who was feeling a bit down because he didn't feel his life had much purpose.
Yeah.
You have to go out and find your purpose.
I agree.
If you don't have a dream, you have to create one yourself. You have to figure out what you want in life.
Return to nature.
Of course, Allah subhanahu, getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and improving your deen is a tenet of your faith, but that is not your sole life goal. You should should find a dream that is going to, build your life into something.
Satisfying.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't create you only to worship Him. Otherwise, the companions and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would never have worked.
That's true.
They would never have made, world-changing developments.
That's true. It's a very interesting point, Jamal. You're in a very philosophical mood today, so it appears. Did you have something interesting for lunch?
I think it's ever since I got married, and
ever
since I started working at Crescent
Here
Wealth,
we go.
I've started thinking again back on the deep level that I used to, or maybe it's I don't know if it's a deep level.
Well, look,
maybe
I like it. I like
uncommon.
Level. Deep Jamal. Deep Jamal's very. He's got a deep voice.
My wife probably wouldn't say I'm very deep. She probably kind of mocks my intelligence quite a lot. But if there is any intelligence, I don't know. Maybe a wife.
Maybe she needs to find you one day, with your pipe in hand, staring at the stars.
I actually get made fun of by my friends a lot because of that stuff.
Really? Well, interesting. Well, look, as you said, everyone has their own dream, and I'm glad I have Deep Jamal in the studio with me today. That was my dream today. Nonetheless, I think unfortunately we can't
We're running out of time
with this amazing conversation, only because we are running out of time. We do have some fantastic interviews up and coming, including, as we said, running through the debate that's going to be happening this Saturday. We're going to be talking to two of the debaters about public school versus private school. It's going to be fantastic. We're also going to be talking about the Burma event, that's happening. The fundraiser is happening.
So there's a fundraiser happening on this Sunday at the LMA Centre. It's hosted by the University of Technology of Sydney, University of Technology Sydney Muslim Students Society. Yeah. Or Muslim Society, UTSMS.
Yeah.
It's called I Weep for Islam, and it's a fundraiser for both the victims of the Burma and Syria atrocities that are happening right now.
Yep.
It's at 9:45 or 10 a.m. at the LMA Function Centre. You'll be having speakers Abu Adnan, Arshad Khan and Muhammad Duar as the guest speakers.
Yeah.
Please go along. It's only $10. You get a free lunch, or you get a lunch.
I think there's more than one event that's going on for Burma.
Not this weekend. You do have, if maybe we should leave this for the end of the episode, but you also have 3 other events happening on Saturday that I know of.
Yep.
One is the debate that we were talking about, that the speakers in the show are on for.
Yep.
That's on Saturday at 6:30 at where is it? At the ISRA Centre?
The debate is on the LMA Function Centre.
Sorry, yeah, okay. I thought so. All right, so that's at the LMA Function Centre as well on Saturday, 6:30. You've got Striving for Nobility of Character and Expression, which is a panel discussion on expressing the love and adoration for the Prophet ﷺ.
Wow, that's beautiful.
By Auburn Gallipoli Mosque.
Yep.
And I believe that's at 7 p.m. on Saturday at the Auburn Gallipoli Mosque, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So you can find that. It's called Striving for Nobility of Character.
I think you can find all of them on our page. Yep.
And on our page, you've also got Al Fitra's Inclusion Dinner by Al Fitra Centre, which is on Saturday at 7 p.m. as well at the Emporium Function Centre, Bankstown.
Yep.
It's a fundraiser for a centre for Muslims with special needs, which is obviously a very, very important matter. Since we don't have a centre exclusively for Muslims. I just want to touch on this point. How much time do we have, Rashwani? Just enough to quickly mention Fitra?
We can, I think, but we always have time for Fitra.
Okay. So the Fitra Centre, who's doing this fundraiser for this centre, they're basically saying that they're mothers, they're professionals, but most of all, they're in need of a centre like this for special needs children. It's especially catered to Muslim children.
Yeah.
In Australia, they typically we're talking about obviously kids with they don't call it disabilities, they call it
learning disabilities.
No, there's a unique ability. Unique abilities.
Right. Okay. Yep.
Which is the appropriate term. And basically this centre is especially catering for their needs, inshallah.
Wow. So we got a jam-packed week. Just to clarify, we'll be speaking about Freestylin for Burma later on in the episode, which is run by Human Appeal International. And we're going to be speaking to one of the organisers for that, and we're going to be going through, because he recently arrived from Burma.
Yep.
He's going to be talking about the Rohingya people. So that will be a very interesting interview. Stick around, guys.
By the way, one last interesting point was for the Fitra Inclusion Dinner on Saturday at 7 at the Emporium Function Centre. It's also having a very special guest speaker, Abdul Malik Clare, who you may know as the Blind Sheikh. He's an international spokesman.
Inshallah.
Very Canadian brother. I believe he's the convert.
Yep.
Brilliant speaker. People have cried at his speeches before because he's very sincere when he talks.
Yeah.
Very from the heart. Beautiful brother. So that's you can check that out, inshallah, as well. He'll be speaking at the event.
Okay, stick around, guys, for our fantastic interviews. You're listening to The Y Factor on 87.6
FM.
وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله داع أيها المبعوث فينا جئت بالأمر المطاع جئت شرفت المدينة
Assalamu alaikum everybody, and welcome back to the Y Factor. I am joined in the studio today with two very special guests with us today. We are here on the topic of public schools versus private schools, and we're going to be talking about a debate that's going to be happening this Saturday in relation to that, run by ISRA. I have in the studio today Bassam, who is an executive member of ISRA, a father of three, and an ex-radio host at Voice of Islam on the show In Focus. Welcome, Bassam.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
I also have in the studio Mohsen, who is a current teacher at Unity Grammar and has a bachelor and master's in education. MashaAllah. Welcome, Mohsen. Or welcome back, should I say?
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, what is it? I don't know how many times
You've been here once or twice, I would say. It's great to have you in the studio, gentlemen. So either of you are going to be taking opposite sides on the debate this Saturday. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yep. So Bassam, okay. Bassam, what side are you going to be on?
Well, I'm going to be, I wouldn't say side, but I'll be presenting the idea of the public schools currently, where they sit in relation to Islamic schools.
Awesome. And Mohsen, I'm assuming that means you're going to be private schools?
Yes, basically the opposite. So I'll be urging for private schooling and why it's the place to go for your children.
Will you be keeping it strictly to Islamic private schools in general?
Well, we'd like to probably nut it down to Islamic schooling.
Yep.
Most definitely. That's how I'm going to be defining
Yep.
my argument as well as my other.
Awesome. So that's good. We got a good idea. But before we get into the the nitty gritties of the debate, I'd like to get both of your personal experiences with school. So, for example, like what school did you go to growing up?
I went to a public school actually.
Yep.
I did my HSC through the public system, and then I went on to uni, and I've achieved a reasonably high TER back at my time. And I understand there's a bit of a difference.
It's changed many times now. ETA.
Okay, there's information for me. So between me and Mohsen, there's probably a generation or two.
Did you have ETA?
We had TER.
We had UAI.
We had UAI, and now it's ETA.
There's ETA.
Wow. Well, there you go. So basically, was the year I finished my HSC was get the highest marks that you can ever get to get into any course that you wanted. So it was quite difficult at that time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's awesome. Mohsen, what schools? You went to more than one school, I do believe?
Yes, I went to two schools.
Yeah.
I grew up basically born and raised in Peakhurst. I went to Peakhurst West Public School from kindergarten to year 5. And then basically we made the trek down to Malik Fahad. Awesome. And that's where I finished my schooling through to high school. Awesome.
So just to give you guys a bit of background of myself, of course, I actually very similar to yourself, except opposite. So I was private school until year 10, and then year 11 and 12 I did it at a public school. So I had you could say a bit of a combined view. So I did have a good idea of how public school is run and how private school is run. So I do have an opinion, but I'm not going to share it.
Nice.
Okay, so let's get into the actual cruxes of the issue. I'm going to start with you, Bassam. Bassam, why did you pick the public school side?
Look, I start my sort of thoughts with this verse from the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Ba'da a'udhu billahi as-sami'il 'alim minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا صدق الله العظيم." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Mulk, He's the one who created the heavens and the universe, and I'm quickly translating here, and the one who created you to test you who will do the better deeds. أحسن عملا. So our existence on earth, it's not just to do the good deeds, it's to do the better deeds or to do the greater deeds. And that's what humans compete in humanity, compete in being good humans, good citizens, beneficial citizens to society. And that's the competition Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to get busy with, not get busy with just do the good deeds and it's okay, stay there. No, you gotta be better than your human fellow in ahsanu amala, in the good deeds, in deeds that benefit humanities. Therefore, when we look at education, which is the topic of our debate on Saturday, inshallah, it's a fundamental or a pinnacle of concern to every parent out there. Every parent wants to educate his kids or their kids. They want their kids to be well versed in the knowledge of this world and the year after.
Of course.
Therefore, attaining that has always been a great concern. Now, in the process of doing that, humanity have established something called schools, and you find education is probably one of the third biggest expenditure on any government to educate people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us without any knowledge, and the reason why is for us to educate and learn. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, that we seek knowledge, and once we seek knowledge, it's got to be given to us in a way that would benefit us, as I said, in this life and the year after. Therefore, I was very passionate about this topic because our kids are an investment. And growing back, as I said, there's a generational difference between me and my brother Mohsen and yourself too, Mustafa.
That's true,
Yeah. There was no Islamic institutions in the abundance that you have today. The only masjid that I knew of was Lakemba, and I lived far from Lakemba, and it was like a journey just to go to the masjid and pray Jumu'ah or do any event. The halal food was hard, there was no internet, there was no communication. We used to basically get a clock that makes adhan and put the alarm on just to hear the adhan at time of breaking the fast in Ramadan, to feel something with Ramadan.
Wow.
So therefore, it was a great struggle to get the steps, and as societies and as communities build themselves, they start with a masjid. Then they go to the next level of saying, okay, we've got a place to pray. Let's go and build a school. That's right. And that was the greatest dream of myself, to see myself go to a Muslim school, but because there was only few of them, and obviously the list was big and it was far from the area, I was out of my reach. But today, when I look at the list of schools that exist in New South Wales by itself, it's beautiful, it's great. And our debate today is not about, and I'll highlight this very importantly to the listeners and people who are going to attend the Saturday debate, we're not debating here, should we go and put our kids in Muslim schools, or do we need Muslim schools? The answer is definitely yes. We all want Muslim schools. We're all for Muslim schools, and we all support Muslim schools. And we want to see the fine line here in this debate: are public schools better than Muslim schools? And we are talking here today about how we can make the Muslim schools better than other schools and stand out, and that's what we're advocating in this debate. As I said, I'll say it again, we're not here vindicating or undermining the existence of a structure or of Islamic schools. No, we are for it, we will support it, we'll encourage it, but we want to see it better.
I like that. That's a very democratic and a great position to take, especially in the society that we live in today. But now I'll pass the question on to you, Mohsen. Why did you pick the private school side?
Well, I was approached to straight go for the private side. And if I was given the option, I still would have went with private schooling. Why? Because I have faith in it. I have experienced both sides, and I've also had my stint in public schooling system as a teacher. And really, when it comes to the crux of it, through my experience and what basically stuck with me most and what I had most faith in, definitely came down to the private schooling system, namely Islamic education. So that's basically why I'm vouching for Islamic schools on the night.
Well, those are two very excellent points, and I'm sure you guys will expand upon them greatly on Saturday. But let's get even further into it. I'll start with you this time, Mohsen. What do you feel are the advantages and disadvantages of being at a private school and getting an Islamic education that way?
Well, I think just going back onto Brother Bassam's point, how they want, my opposing team, they want to see the Islamic, the Islamic schooling system flourish, and we're all for that. So obviously, going back to your question, that's what we want to see. We want to see these school advance, Muslim-run schools advance in our community, and that's what we should all be behind. But what I'm struggling to find out right now, just from hearing this, is really, okay, in what framework are we going to work from it? Within the public schooling system? Are we going to step out of it and tell our children, come on kids, let's go down this way of town, leave Islamic schools, let's go back when they're ready? That's what I kind of feel like. Okay, so whose shoulders is it going to rest on? We both already acknowledge, and I'm surprised from Brother Bassam what he's just said, he's acknowledged the idealistic nature of having Islamic schools flourish within our community. This is what we all want. But the fact of the matter is, it is an ideal system. Just because it's ideal does not mean it's realistic. Okay, so sometimes when we say ideally we'd like this, ideally we'd like that. Okay, sometimes it's attributed to something that won't happen. But who's to say that it's not going to happen? Most definitely, it's an ideal system that we need to work for. They're relatively new within our society.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have that much of a backbone compared to not backbone, but foundations compared to our Catholic brothers and sisters and their schooling systems, which right now they're flourishing. They really haven't got what we have right now, what we're experiencing.
Yeah.
They're standing tall and they're standing firm and they're shining.
Yeah.
Okay. They're institutions that are shining right now. We want this from the Islamic system, and to be honest, I do see a lot of beacons of light within our schools. Many of them. And as I said, I'm going to go back to it. It's an ideal system. We need to work harder.
Okay, that's an interesting point. But Sam, what do you think about that?
Well, I'll just take where you left off. We need to work harder, and the point harder, how much harder we have to work. And it is a new system, as you said, and it's flourishing, and it's great to see. Let me just put you through the list of one of the oldest Muslim schools established in Sydney, without mentioning any particular school. It was about the 83 that was established, and one of the oldest, not the oldest, but one of the oldest is back in 83 was established. And I talk to parents. I talk to parents who've got the kids, and I'm assuming. Basically, we do. First thing you talk is about their kids' education, and being on the radio program for the last when we started the In Focus program. One of it was education and Muslim education, and we come across a lot of concern from parents. Yeah, and you could see that there's room for improvement of Muslim schools to make them a place where they produce a community, where they produce students that have both a great sense of Islamic adherence and a great academical achievement and a reasonable character. That is very important to see how public system maybe outweighs or passes the Muslim schools in some Muslim schools. I mean, there are very bad public schools, which I can mention a lot. Let's not go through names.
All night.
And there's very good public school systems.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a couple of great Muslim schools that exist in Sydney. As I said, the list is quite big, which is a pleasing thing to see.
Yeah.
However, let's talk about the average. Let's talk about the norm. And when we talk about the norm, we say to my listeners that out there, when we look at the schools where they've been there for 20 years, there's a second generation Muslims have come who are the parents.
Yeah.
And they're a little bit different to our parents.
Yeah.
Our parents, when they sent us to school was like, the school will do everything and that was taken care of. But I think I can see and I sense from my communication with the community through the many avenues, especially with Isra currently with the organisation that we have, we see that second generation Muslim parents are concerned of some of the practices that run in Islamic schools. They are concerned of areas that can be improved. They want to get involved in a positive way. They want to see improvement. They want to bring in, maybe obviously they're choosing the best at what they saw in the public system, because most of them were educated in the public system due to the availability of Muslim schools at the time when they were educated, like myself. And there was great things in the public systems that I'm sure we can apply to the Muslim schools, and therefore we can have best of both worlds. But currently, these things lack in some Muslim schools, and I'm talking about the average here.
Mohsen,
you say these things. What are these things? We're extremely generic.
Exactly, and that's the purpose of this talk. Is generic for you should come to the debate and be able to listen to
these are like scratching the surface. Okay, what are you talking about? Let's talk about it, but obviously not. But
I'm not really I'm not showing you my cards.
No,
okay.
I'm sure the concern.
I confidently stand that they won't be substantiated. Those cards.
Oh wow!
I'm being honest. That's very generic, and I don't think you can go further with that.
Oh wow! That's getting very heated.
So I'm interested. I'm waiting.
Okay. That's fantastic. Honestly, that makes me want to go to the debate. I want to hear these specifics. I can't wait to hear the further details. But nonetheless, again, both of you guys make fantastic points, and I agree a little bit with both of you guys. I agree, Bassam, that there are some things that public schools provide that the private schools do lack, and I do agree with you, Mohsen, that it's idealistic and we have to be realistic. But
when that's a healthy thing about our community now, which we have these debates. When we started doing these debates with Isra, a lot of people come up to us and said, "Are you guys sure you want to get controversial? You want to get controversial?" But I said, we live in a society where we're brought up to speak your mind and put your points forward, and people got to acknowledge what you say and be able to take it on board without any grudge against your opinion. Yeah. And that's an Islamic practice. Yeah. And that's what we're trying to do with these debates. We are trying to put a topic that concerns a lot of Muslim families out there, whether I choose a public school for my child or I choose a Muslim school for my children. Yeah. It's your future. I'm not sure if you guys have children, but
not yet.
Yeah, but you will feel. I'm sure you feel it, but you'll feel it more when you've got your precious asset, leaving those precious assets that you have at the front door and turning it back and saying, "I hope they'll take good care of them."
Most definitely, yes. That's one thing as a teacher we need to understand, like from coming from as a teacher and working within a system of Islamic education, we're dealing with people's world. Yeah. Literally. Yeah. You know, parents, they're everything. So I understand exactly what he's saying. We really do. It's a serious topic, and I think majority, if they cannot be there, live stream. If it's going to be live stream, they should tune into this because it's something that concerns us all. We don't we don't have kids, but definitely this is probably one of those those monumental steps when we first have a child. Like, okay, what are we going to name them? How are we going to raise them? What values are we going to have? All these things you want. All these kids. What you want in your kid, really. And this is, in my opinion, which we cannot see from the public system, is we want the school to reflect this. What we want to instill in the child, we want to look at the school and say, can you do this with us? Can we work together? Because let's face it, the child, they spend more time in the school than with their parents.
Absolutely.
They're connected. I feel my children are more connected with me than their own parents. And I have parents come into me.
Let me give you a scenario. My daughter, my older daughter, sits down and plays. Obviously, the kids play by themselves. And half of her games that she plays imitating her teacher. Amazing. Yes. You for those teachers out there, your behaviour is so important to the upbringing of a child. And she'll imitate her teacher, the way she dresses, the way she walks, the way she talks, and it's like, who are you? She goes, I'm Miss such and such. Yeah. It's amazing. It's like a sponge.
I honestly have parents and teachers coming up to me who have their kids at school. They say to me, for example, my kids never eaten tuna in their lives. I'm being honest. If I have my own stacks of tuna cans in my office, and every lunch I'm just eating it. Now, every single kid in my class and in other classes are eating their tunas. I tell them, I have carrots for breakfast. They all come with carrots, and they bring them in the morning. Say, "Here, Mr. Saleh, you want some carrots?" I'm eating healthy. I have a parent the other day. She came up to me. She goes, "My son doesn't even eat Nutella anymore, at all, completely." Yeah, you know what I mean? Things like these. This is only health benefits, but other things in terms of values and how they see the world, how they project themselves, and how they put themselves out there as well. Honestly, I feel my students are a reflection of me.
That's a very powerful tool, I think, especially within the schooling systems. That the students will reflect the teacher and will try and imitate the teacher. But let's apply it to the debate here. Let's say, do you believe, Mohsen, that within the Islamic system that plays a part in progressing the Islamic identity, which is an issue that is going to be dealt with in the debate?
Look, in regards to identity, This is something I hold very dear to my heart, and we can talk all night on. Honestly, we could have our own debate on it, and I'm pretty Ishra's already done things like that in regards to identity. But we need to look at our children in this sense, okay? Yeah. That we are facing a crisis of identities, almost a schizophrenia of identities. Yep. They're grabbing their identities from home, their identity from the school, and their identity from society. Yep. And unless we frame these different environments, put them within a framework, this kid's going to be lost. Honestly. And we need all these three different environments to the best of our ability. We need to be able to, bring them together and actually keep a watchful eye on them for our children, because our children are very fragile. Yeah. Very fragile. And God knows where they're going to go.
But don't you think making a school will Islamic school will contribute a considerable amount to the fact you're insulating your kids?
Insulating our children. Okay, well, in regards, I'm going to talk children. When we say children, we know Prophet ﷺ said, our children are born. Our children are born on their fitrah. We need to protect them. At these early years, honestly, especially in this society today where maturity, unfortunately, it's a very delayed process. Yeah. Okay, these children need to be put in an environment where they do need to, in a way, be shielded, and we need to protect them. And it's not only Islamic schools that do this. For example, if you look at the Disney Channel, okay, the Disney Channel, they've banned any, for example, advertising of what's that thing, the Happy Meals.
Right.
Why? Because they're easily bent. Yeah. Anything you come with them, you put it into their ears, they've changed, they've bent. We need to protect our children. Yeah. Really, you'd be surprised that, subhanallah, just for something as simple as when a child asks you something, and they always come running all the time. The satisfaction you see in their eyes and in their hearts when you tell them, you know why that is? Because of Allah. Something as simple as that. What's this show? Our children, we can keep them molded how ideally they should be. Yeah. They don't know. They don't know
like exactly. You said, they're a sponge, right? They're absorbing the Islam. But how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the idea of, as you said, are you insulating the children? Do you believe that private schools are insulating them?
Well, certainly, for a person that look, the home plays the great part in the upbringing of the child. And you can send your kids to a public school quite comfortably with the right guidance from home, with the right showing them what the right and the wrong.
Yep.
I'm sure you'll get an equal product to someone who's gone to Islamic schools with the guidance, the data that they get.
Yeah.
The problem that a lot of parents don't want to do is we're just too busy. We subcontract a lot of our stuff. Like, the laundry, someone else does it, and the cooking is sort of someone else, and the cutting the grass, and like there's only so much things people got to do these days. Washing the car, people don't do their own stuff anymore, and unfortunately, some parents don't bring up their kids. And bringing up the kids is a duty, or watching over your children is a duty, regardless if you send them to a best public school, whether it's Islamic or not, or you send them to a public school. That is something, as a given. You've got to be there for your children. So insulating the kids is different to protecting the kids. It's different to showing the kids what's right and what's wrong, and having a strong sense of being able to distinguish, because eventually they're going to have to go on their own.
Most definitely. But where do we, with this argument, where do we say, okay, it's time for the child to start distinguishing between right and wrong from a young age? We're talking children right now. When is it okay for them to think, okay, I can leave your son from now, put them in the school, let them distinguish right and wrong from now. They're not going to be bent.
What do you think, Bassam?
Well, I didn't say that. All I said is the watchful eyes of the parents will know when the child is at a level when they can distinguish between the wrong and the right. But obviously there's things that distinguish between wrong and right. I mean, Rasulullah didn't order us to pray until we're 7. There's a reason to distinguish between, they say, between the kal and a date. That's what the fuqaha have said, between al-hajar wal-tamr. So between al-jamar wal-tamr. So that Rasulullah has told us, another method of educating, which is play with your child at 7, and also Ali ibn Abi Talib, not sure who, play with your child for 7, and then أدبه سبعا لعبه سبعا وأدبه سبعا وصاحبه سبعا, يعني 7. Again, this duty, regardless of education system, has to fall back on the parents. And you're not going to go and ask your child at the age of 7 to make a decision that he should be making at the age of 14 or the age of 21. That's what I'm trying to say.
It's interesting, he's coming from that angle, but then we know within Islam at the same time, how did it start off? It's Ya ayyuhal muzammil, the covered one, and then it went to muddathir. So why was he covered? Because he was still new. It was still a new period in his life. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala referred to him as the muzammil, the covered one. And it's the honest truth. The truth of the matter is that our children, for some time of their life, they need to be sheltered. They actually need to be sheltered, and through this sheltering process, they're going to be built. Their foundations would be built.
It doesn't mean if they go to public school, they won't be sheltered.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that at home. The child is going to be receiving the foundations from the parents. Now, every parent, I guarantee you, if it's within their means, they want the teacher and they want the school to reflect those same foundations. Once they have those foundations, that's when the good and the evil is clear. They need to be built on these solid foundations. But it's unfortunate. It's clear that you want some solid Islamic foundation, some these principles in your child. But the fact of the matter is, they are not going to be reiterated in the public schooling system at all.
Oh, well. Well, unfortunately, we do have to wrap it up at that point, and I'm actually loving the heated conversation. It's very, very enlightening, and it's very great. It's actually great that we are having this discussion with two fantastic people as yourselves, and two educated and well-spoken people as yourselves. You both brought up fantastic points, I thought, and I look forward to hearing an expansion of those points on Saturday. But do you guys have any last points you want to make, Bassam, before you finish?
As I said, Isra, by putting on this debate, it aims to bring a concern, bring a topic that's prevalent at the moment in the media to the attention of the community, but without harming organisations, targeting particular schools or individuals.
Yeah.
I can assure you...
Most definitely, we need to maintain that.
I can assure you that every person on the side of the public school is with having Islamic schools, having a solid Islamic foundation system that serves the akhirah and dunya as well, okay, and can surpass any school in this area. And I'll go back to the verse that I started with, ahsanu amala, who's got the better deeds. And I want to see the day that comes that Islamic schools has non-Muslim students in their schools for the purpose of education and the purpose of akhlaq and morals, and that's what I aim to have.
It's powerful.
It's powerful. It's a vision we both share. However, it's not a vision that we can actually. He could, or those who are standing on that side of public schools are better than Islamic schools. That's your stance, whether you like it or not. And with these sentiments don't really work together. Rather, they're a dichotomy. What he wants and this system that he wants to see, at the same time vouching for public schooling being better, you're going to get nowhere.
Well, look, I'll leave it up to the adjudicator on Saturday, inshallah, to come to a decision between two very powerful, points. Just to give our listeners some information about the actual debate, it is on the 18th of May, which is this Saturday. It is at 6:30 p.m. at the LMA Function Centre in Lakemba. I do hope to see you there, gentlemen. Jazakallah khairan for coming in. Thank you very much for both your points, and I wish you luck in the debate on Saturday, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
ما دعا لله داع أيها المبعوث فينا جئت بالأمر المطاع جئت شرفت المدينة مرحبا يا خير داع.
Assalamu alaikum everybody, and welcome back to the Y Factor. I am joined on the phone today with Kuranda from Fifth Dimension. Assalamu alaikum, Kuranda.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. How are you?
Good, thank you. So I did hear that recently you did return from a trip from Burma, and you discovered a lot of things down there, specifically to do with the Rohingya people. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
So what are you doing with the Fifth Dimension to help out the Rohingya people in Burma?
Well, we've already started working on this project a few months back, but our next big fundraising program is on the 1st and 2nd of June, and we're calling it Freestylin for Burma. And it's really about fulfilling our vision to assist those most needy people at the moment in what we call Arakan State in Burma or Myanmar, and those people right now, I would agree with what the United Nations have described them as the most oppressed people in the world, because not only are they denied an identity, a right to live in their own homeland, and I suppose, the dignity of being regarded as a human being, they're also being killed, massacred, women and children burned alive, and everybody there is on alert, because another incident could spark up any moment, because the Rohingya people are basically defenseless. They have no one helping them. They have no outside assistance. They got no country speaking up for them. And so right now, I mean, personally, I feel that Australian Muslims, if more than any people in the world, because we're so lucky here and we have so much blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have a responsibility to help these people, because no one else is helping them. And what I saw in the camps was atrocious and appalling and shocking. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to raise more money to assist them urgently, family, and our main project at the moment is to give them some medical and educational development, which is lacking in the camps.
Yeah. Before we go on and talk about the event that's coming up on the 1st of June, I'd just like to speak to you again about your experiences within Burma. Just to begin, why exactly are the Rohingya people being oppressed?
Yeah, see, the interesting thing here is the propaganda that's being spread out by the what we call the Rakhine people or the Buddhists in that state is that the Rohingya people are illegal immigrants from Bangladesh, which is a big lie. Historically, it's very much proven that the Rohingya people were established in Arakan State in the 8th and 9th centuries, Common Era, so more than 1,000 years ago, and they've lived and developed side by side with the Buddhists. The Buddhists also migrated from the north. They are Sino-Tibetan people. They're not originally from that area. Everyone's migrated from somewhere. But we're talking thousands of years here of a history where these people have lived, grown, and developed their homes and land, and if anything, they are indigenous to that area. So once Burma was formed, and Burma was only formed in the late 1800s, when Burma actually invaded the area. So when they annexed the area, they became a part of Burma. And so now the Burmese government are denying them Burmese nationality, and so they're a stateless people. So what the Buddhists are doing at the moment are they're capitalizing on this stateless nature that they've been given, and they're trying to drive them out. And so basically it's ethnic cleansing, but they're using different techniques, but one of them is to push them into a corner in a part of the country which is next to the ocean, and so they're saying, look, there's the sea, get a boat and leave this country or we'll kill you.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, Latif, that sounds terrible. Are they offered any kind of services or aid or anything like that?
Well, alhamdulillah, I was there just over 2 weeks ago, and I visited the camp, so I went directly into the heart of where the problems are, and I'm just in the process of finishing off a documentary that I'm making about the situation there. So inshallah, that will be available soon on YouTube, and we'll be launching it at the dinner. But look, there are international NGOs there, mostly United Nations, Red Cross, Save the Children. Unfortunately, all the Muslim NGOs have been driven out, so there are no Muslim NGOs allowed to work in Burma, except for Mercy Malaysia, which is a Malaysian NGO, but it's operated by Buddhists. But the sad thing is that the Burmese government is stopping Muslim organisations working there, so they have to do it through a third party, doing it surreptitiously. So there is help getting through. The main assistance that's been coming through from the World Food Programme is that the refugees have access to rations of rice, oil, and salt. Other than that, they have to just improvise and grow their own food or do what they can. And it's a very desperate situation. We have 115,000 people crammed in an open-air prison, and those people have besides a couple of medical clinics that are sort of working ad hoc, they haven't got any direct supply connection to the hospital. They can't access medical supplies. I mean, we're talking about Panadols and things like that. That's the best they get. And we've got people dying from malaria. We've got people with serious eye infections and skin irritations. We've got people who are suffering from terrible trauma. They have no access to counselling and psychological assistance. And there are people mainly children, who are malnourished. And you'll see that in the video footage that a lot of children have bloated stomachs because of the malnutrition. So access to clean water and education is another issue. So these are some of the major problems that the international organisations are providing. I mean, they're providing a bit of food and some building materials and tents, but it's very scant. It's 115,000 people, and I'd say maybe 30% of those people are actually being directly assisted, whereas the other 70% are doing the best with whatever they can find.
Wow, it does sound truly terrible. But alhamdulillah, there are some people working towards it, and the event on the 1st of June is a step forward. What exactly will the event entail?
Well, look, I suppose there's very different ways to approach this issue, and I think our organisation is pretty creative, and we're appealing to a young audience on this occasion.
Yep.
We've got international hip hop artist Khalid Ismail.
Oh, wow.
I think if you listen to his work on YouTube, it's very inspirational. I think he's one of the few religious hip hop artists out there. But also we've got Muslim Revert, who's French, Julian Drolan. This is the first time for us to have someone of his background here in Australia.
Yeah.
And then of course we got local artists, comedian Khalid Khalafallah. Of course everybody knows Khalid.
Yep.
And we've got the Brotherhood, and also a good friend of mine, Matus.
Yes.
So all these guys are from the Muslim community here. We're all working together. It's a local, you could say it's local artists with international artists combining to make a difference for Burma. And, in this instance, we want the young people out there on the 1st of June in Fairfield at the what's the place called? The Grand Paradiso reception centre.
Yep.
And then the next day we want a bigger crowd at the Grand West Tower, so in Lidcombe on the 2nd, which starts at 4 o'clock. So same sort of situation. There'll be food and lots of snacks and refreshments available.
Yep.
There'll be other little things on sale. So it'll be a good event, and I think everybody will enjoy it. At the same time, that 100% of those funds will be going to the Muslims who are suffering the Rohingya Muslims who are suffering in Burma. And as I said in the beginning, they don't have any natural allies. No one is helping them. They have the most desperate situation I've ever seen before. I've gone to many countries. I've travelled to many places. I've been to Palestine. I've been to Syria. And these people, at least there's a lot of international helpers, whereas the Rohingya Muslims, they haven't got anyone helping them, and that's why I appeal to the Muslim Australians here to really put out their hearts and put some money into the bucket and inshallah help these people. I think we can make a big difference. We're only talking about $50,000 or $60,000 to build a clinic and employ two medical doctors. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about a lot of money.
Oh wow, yeah. I mean, it sounds like pretty much the essentials, the basic essentials.
Yeah, look, I think we take it for granted, but we have Medicare here. We've got a doctor, and if we have a slight cough, we just walk straight up to the medical centre, and 5 minutes later, you're seeing a doctor. You got the pharmacies where you can get medicine, and of course, we got schools. We go to all our kids go to school. Alhamdulillah, we have a very blessed situation here, but that is not happening and this is a deliberate plan by the Burmese government. They don't want them to have access to education. They don't want them to have access to medical because they want them to leave the country. They want them to say, life here is too tough, I'm going to leave. But at the same time, if we establish those schools and those medical centres, then that can at least give them some type of normalcy and some type of hope, because that will keep them going, and that will keep them saying, well, look, I want to keep my family here. I don't want to leave my country. Because if everybody leaves their country, then the Burmese would have won. They would have got what they wanted, and that is to get rid of Muslims from Burma. There's over 1 million Muslims in Burma, so why should the Burmese Muslims leave? That's their country. So let's all try and help out and do our best.
I completely agree, and us here at the Y Factor, we commend you guys for all the work that you are doing for the Burmese people. As you said, they are in desperate need of our help, so we do encourage all our listeners to go and attend these events, to give generously, and to help out all the organizations that have given all their time and effort and money and courage up for these people in need. So Jazakallah khairan, Kuranda, for coming on and enlightening our listeners about the desperate situation in Burma. I'm sure that we need as much coverage as possible on the situation, as well as on what appears to be a fantastic event happening on the 1st and 2nd of June. Is that right?
That's right. So you can go to Wayakum, by the way, but if you go to our website at Freestyle Burma, freestyleburma1word.com. You can see all the details there, and also our Facebook page. But I want to say one last thing, and that is, we are young, we are blessed in this life, and for us to put out our assistance and our support for those people is actually an investment into the ahira, into the next life. So remember that whatever we do in this world, if we do our best to work for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to do service for the sake of the ummah, then that is only an investment into the next world. Because this is a transitory world. We're only here for a very short time. Everything is a test for us, and this is a big test for us right now. The Burmese Muslims are looking towards the Western Muslims in the world, and this is a big test for all of us.
It is, and I'm sure, inshallah, most of the Muslim community will step up to the test and will, inshallah, come to these events and give generously. But again, thank you very much for coming on the show, Kuranda. We will be posting all the links to all both events on our pages as soon as the episode goes up. Jazakallah khairan, Kuranda, and we will be back right after this break.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله داع.
Well, hello again, audience. Thank you for listening in to the Y Factor on 87.6.
Welcome
FM.
back.
Welcome
back.
Thank you for listening.
It's been a pretty excellent episode, in my opinion.
Every episode is an excellent episode,
but
Mr.
specifically when it's me and you, it's special.
It's an exceptional. As my father-in-law say, is an exceptional episode.
Very nice. It's probably because you had such fantastic guests, isn't it?
Yes.
As well as the fact that we had philosophical Jamal at the very beginning.
Fantastic hosts.
Yeah. Mashallah. No, it's been a pleasure to have our listeners with us this week. It has been a jam-packed episode, so unfortunately we don't have lots of time to wrap up. But I will say that I'm looking forward to all the different events that are happening this week. I mean, it just keeps building up, isn't it? It's like we're going to event season.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's great that we're seeing a lot more events in the Muslim community. It's definitely required. The good thing is also that we're seeing a lot more development of professional businesses inside the Muslim community. Yeah. We've now got Islamic Super that's coming around. We've got more
varieties.
Exactly. We're having more developed schools that are being built now compared to what they were, a decade ago. Yeah. Alhamdulillah, we're seeing more and more Muslim businesses.
I mean, it was always going to happen. It's always
are becoming more professional.
It was always going to happen. I mean, it's a generational thing, if you know what I mean. I mean, it was Generation 1 would have struggled. Generation 2 struggles a little bit more. Generation 3, eventually things will start to, get better. Generation 4 and 5 will have it much better than the earlier generations.
We hope so.
Inshallah, that's hopefully the aim and the goal. But I
guess ultimately, if we're reflecting on in a global perspective, there's still a lot of work to be done in Muslim countries themselves.
That's true.
Or Muslim majority countries, I should say, not Muslim countries.
Yep, and I guess it's our responsibility, living in the West and living in these comfortable kind of...
living in the West.
The West.
The evil West.
No, living in a place...
I'm going to take that soundbite and send it off to Today Tonight.
Dirty kuffar. No, I'm kidding. We're living with the comforts that we live with and with the blessings that we live with. I think we have a responsibility to the people that are less fortunate than ourselves to help them in any way, whether it means going to an event and giving in charity, whether it means organizing the event, whether it means sponsoring the event, whether it means just clicking like on Facebook. Anything.
It's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing. That's the thing. We talked about that last time we were on about just taking some proactive action, and here we are talking about it again. But as I said, I think anything that can be done, alhamdulillah, is being done, and we're getting better. We're getting better at it.
Well, my personal opinion. I mean, I'm hoping actually. I think a lot of us are becoming a lot more disenfranchised or what do you call it? Desensitized.
Is that how you feel, Jamal, or is that how everyone feels?
Yeah, I think your heart out, Jamal. To be honest, unfortunately, I think with so many atrocities that are happening in the Muslim majority world, you do tend to get to a stage where you feel
desensitized.
Yeah, maybe that's a problem with my personal iman, but I think
it might also be a problem with overexposure.
You never know. Maybe it's a challenge inside all of us.
Let's open it up. Let's ask people. Why do people think that we're facing this issue?
How come the issues overseas haven't been resolved? Surely, if we all collectively got together and pushed to make a difference, I'd love to hear our listeners' opinions on this. Inshallah, we will post this episode online as soon as it happens. So, whatever your opinions on the range of topics that we covered, whether it be from the very beginning with Gen Y and being proactive, and we're talking about the Isra debate and so on and so forth. Whatever your thoughts and opinions on the episode, please do share it with us. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Jamil, always a pleasure. As likewise, Mr. Roshwani.
Inshallah, we will see you guys next Thursday night. You are listening to The Y Factor on 87.6
FM.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
His eyes slowly rising, sunrise warms the horizon, sand dunes form in the distance. He's up and out in an instant. The crowd, they all were waiting, watching and anticipating. A man appears from afar. Could he be the one sent by Allah? He shouts, here comes the prophet. His face is a light that drives out the darkness. Words are alive, his message is living. Cure everywhere, our voices are singing. طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا.